Hi, everybody, and welcome to Take 5, our new podcast series where we're going to be bringing you healthcare topics, relevant topics, in a very shorter snippet segments versus our hour-long presentations and webinars. COVID has definitely presented challenges this year. I don't need to tell anybody. And we are entering the last little final challenge of the year for all of us managing healthcare benefits, and that's stop loss negotiations. So typically we do the stop loss renewals in November and December, and I know that seems very late for self-insured employers, but one of the things that we need in order to get solid stop loss quotes is calendar utilization in through October. The end of October is what carriers are looking for to finalize pricing. So we're in the final stretch, and today's session is really geared towards helping you ask the right questions, look at your contracts, and really give you some key things to think about when you're your stop loss contracts here at the end of the year. COVID has impacted our stop loss renewals in such a serious way. So it's put, this pandemic has put a strain on everything, all of us in many, many ways, but our healthcare systems have been challenged and stretched. We're entering another surge in the pandemic, and healthcare providers, a surge in ER visits, and we're still challenged with personal protective gear, the PPE, that's still not readily available in some spots. On the employer front, employers have been managing benefits, and our challenge has been the dip in utilization and trying to figure out what our budgets should look like for 2021, given that we had such a big dip this year. We saw the RAND study that came out a couple of weeks ago that showed that there was a 67% decrease in preventive care. They did a survey of employer-sponsored insurance plans with 6.8 million participants and saw a significant dip in preventive care. So we saw, as employers, a dip in elective care, even non-elective care at the beginning of 2020. On the fully insured groups, we still saw increases, which was a little bit head scratching because fully insured insurance companies spent far less in 2020. You can tune into my MB's 2 cents blog on my webpage. I did a little blog on the insurance companies and how much profit they made in 2020. So on a fully insured basis, you should be asking your carrier partners if you're getting an increase, what your medical loss ratio is. The medical loss ratio is basically for every dollar they took in premium, how much of that dollar did they spend on healthcare? So if your medical loss ratio is below 80%, so 80 cents on every dollar went to medical treatment, you should not be getting an increase. You should be able to argue that. On a full self-insured side, we saw increases on the admin fees, which are no bueno. I don't know why we saw increases when the admin fee is predicated on processed claims transactions, and they processed a heck of a lot less claims in 2020 than they had in 19 or 18. So that's one of the things that we need to be really cognizant of when we're looking at stop loss, making sure that we know what the arguments are that we should be making with our partner carriers to make sure that we're getting not only the best price, but the best terms, the best contract, and making sure that we have no new lasers at renewal and a rate cap to go along with that no new laser. So we're going to get into our session. It's going to be a quick one. We are going to be at the end of our session today, we're going to be sharing the agenda for the next couple of podcasts that we're doing. And my contact information will be shared at the end as well. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for joining today. All right. So we're going to get started talking about stop loss. 'Tis the season, as we know, to start taking a look at the renewals. We have had employers really come to us with very large increases this year, predominantly because of the pharmacogenomics. We did a session on what those new technological advances in pharmaceuticals and what they mean to employers. They're a beautiful thing for Americans because they're solving and curing and eradicating diseases that we've suffered as Americans for generations. So they're very exciting treatment opportunities, but they come with an extraordinary price tag. And some of those $1 million treatments are definitely playing into our stop loss renewals and the increase in pricing on those. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. We definitely have a hardening of the marketplace in the stop loss area due to new treatments and the cost of those new treatments. We were actually looking this summer in August at a treatment for hemophilia that was going to be over $3 million. It did not get FDA approval. It was sent back for a couple of things that they needed to cross the T's and dot the I's with in order to get the FDA approval. But that's certainly something that is expected to be approved in 2021. The risk tolerance is low. We're going to talk a little bit about how the weather events and the climate concerns are playing into that, as well as COVID, and the use of lasering. So, we have employers who have, a patient on Zolgensma, which is that new pharmacogenomic to treat muscular atrophy at $2.1 million, 2.4 with the hospital stay. Those types of things are being lasered once they're a known claim. So the employer's costs are going up on the stop loss, and they're already saying they're not going to cover those individuals. So we're going to talk a little bit about looking at your renewal and negotiating the terms of no lasers at renewal with a rate cap, which is something that we've been successful in the marketplace at obtaining for our employer clients. So we're going to talk a little bit about those as we go through this. So according to NOAA, these were the billion-dollar weather climate disaster events in 2020. We've had a really disastrous weather year between the fires, the tornadoes, the torrential downpours, and the hurricanes. And how those are affecting stop loss is a lot of the carriers that play in the stop loss marketplace are also in the property and casualty markets. So of course, when they have big losses, billion-dollar losses, they're going to spread those risks across their book of business. And of course, that's affecting our stop loss renewals for 2021. We've had 29 named hurricane storms, weather events. Theta is on the way. That's next, hopefully a non-event for the US. But if it does make landfall, it will just add to an unprecedented weather year for sure. So the pharmacogenomics are something that we're going to talk really quickly about. We did a whole session on pharmacogenomics, what they are, why they're increasing costs in August. And we have that recording available. If you haven't, if you were unable to tune in when we did that presentation, we have a recording for you. But Sun Life just did Sun Life is a stop loss carrier. Sun Life just did a survey that was released this summer of the top 10 drivers of high claimants. And it's something worth looking at because if most of our employers, and I know all of my clients, were looking at your utilization and trying to understand what's driving cost. And when we look at utilization in 2020, it is 2 to 3, maybe 4 people driving, 60, 70, maybe even 80% of the dollar spent. So looking at these high claimants and looking at the categories of diseases or illnesses that they fall into, and then really developing a benefit strategy around that. So if you have a high number of diabetics or you have a high number of cancer patients, there are diabetes disease management programs that make a huge difference, not only in the patient and how much better they can feel if their disease is under control, but cancer centers of excellence with some of the new scientific breakthroughs that they've had in cancer treatment could not only save you money, but help your members get the best care at the most affordable price. And some of these high claimants are falling into those categories of diseases. You may also use those disease management programs as a way to negotiate lower stop loss renewals by saying, hey, we know we've had 3 cancer patients that were high claimants this year, and here are the 3 value-based plan designs that we've put in place to get our people that are diagnosed with cancer second opinions and going to a center of excellence where they provide treatment, a higher level, a higher quality of treatment at a lower cost. So we could use those things to negotiate our stop loss. And then, of course, just the extraordinary increase in high claimants. So 24% of employers have had a stop loss claim over $1 million, and 86% of employers have had a stop loss claim in the past year. So really interesting that the number of stop loss claims have gone up to 86%, but 24% of them had claims over $1 million. That's pretty significant. The need for expertise definitely is growing. So at Tryon, we have a division or a practice that's called the Stop Loss Center of Excellence, and all they do is stop loss. And the reason that we carved it out and put it with specific, people that just do stop loss is they know what to look for. So no lasers at renewal with a rate cap go hand in hand. So if you negotiate in your contract no lasers at renewal, you have to have the rate cap in there as well. Otherwise, they just put the whole, unlasered claim right into your renewal from a cost perspective. So we like those hand in hand. Looking at your contract and making sure that there's 100% mirroring. So what that means is you need the stop loss carrier to agree to cover under the stop loss everything that's covered under your medical plan. And I'll give you an example of that. So we see some stop loss contracts that come out that say that they're not going to cover stage 3 clinical trial drugs. And that's a little cryptic, but those are the specialty drugs. And those are some of the pharmacogenomics that we just talked about that were $1 million drugs. So we want to make sure that they're not putting things into your contract that would increase your liability. We're making sure that the carrier, your stop loss carrier, is agreeing to marrying and mirroring, 100% mirroring of your current plan design with your healthcare program. We actually developed with the Center of Excellence partner carriers. And we basically said, this is our contract that we want for our employer groups. And it just cut out all the nonsense. So definitely this is the year to read through your contract and make sure that you understand any new provisions or new details within your stop loss contract. So you want to be looking for, identifying, and minimizing any liability in your contract terms, a detailed review of your contract terms. There's marketplace leverage to be had. With our Stop Loss Center of Excellence, we're actually going out to the marketplace with all of our clients and saying, these are the metrics, these are the performance guarantees, and these are the minimum standards that we're requiring in our contracts with you in order for you to do business with our clients. So we're using a little bit of marketplace leverage. There's also captive solutions to look at as an opportunity to lower cost and maybe have a participating arrangement where there's an upside instead of just a downside for employers. So a lot of new to market solutions. The other solution that is coming out is there's 2 to 3 carriers in the marketplace that are looking at those pharmacogenomics and actually carving them out and fully insuring them. So there's some solutions that are coming to market. They're supposed to be vetted and available in the first quarter of next year to the general population. So you can actually say, as a self-insured employer, I'm going to carve out some of those specialty pharmacogenomics that are over $1 million, and they wouldn't be subject to your stop loss, and they wouldn't be self-funded under your medical plan. They would be carved out and fully insured for a premium or a per member per month charge from that insurance company. That should lower our stop loss renewals. So more to come on that. You want to look like, I mentioned a lot of these, but 100% mirroring with your documents, no third, stage 3 clinical trial drugs, no new lasers, rate caps, and really looking at reducing your liability by looking at your contract and going out to market and making sure that you understand run in and run out, and making sure that you have your pharmacy plan and your medical plan covered under your stop loss program. And if you've carved out pharmacy, you want to make sure that there's 100% mirroring, not only on the medical plan, but the pharmacy plan as well. So managing your risk, controlling costs, pulling the right levers, those are all things that we have to think about and manage as we go through the coming renewal. I wish all of you the best of luck. We're doing some more podcasts coming up. We have one on November 18th that's going to talk about planning for 2021 and strategies to consider. So we're going to talk about more of those pharmacogenomics and really setting up your year, hitting the ground running January 1st with a planned out a list of accomplishments that need to be done every single month in order for you to be successful. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you found this helpful.